Okay, today we're going to take a look at the most recent Panasonic boomboxes. I put boomboxes in inverted commas there because, well, they're small portable radio cassette. Radio CD players. Forget the cassette aspect. That's been and gone. Yeah, the last Panasonic one with a cassette on it was this, the RXD 55, and this was a decent quality machine. In fact, I suggested it was the last decent portable stereo cassette player on the market. And it's gone now. They've took it out of the range. You won't find it on their website at all, not mentioned anywhere. So if you do find any of these around, it's going to be old stock. But the reason I like this, it just had a nice quality of sound to it. It wasn't great at recording onto cassette, but most people just wanted to play back their old cassettes on this, and for that it was fine. It had a AM/FM radio on it, CD player, and it came with a nice remote control as well. All round a quality machine. You can see by the way I'm lifting it here, it weighs quite a bit as well. Substantial device, good quality sound, decent bass. Taken out of the range along with anything else that had a cassette in it. So that's the end of that one. So now if you wanted a decent portable stereo radio cassette player, the last one from a respectable brand is the Sony CFDS-70. That's been around for quite a while. It's not a patch on this as far as the quality goes. It feels like an empty handbag compared to this thing. As far as the cassette mechanism goes, it won't damage your cassettes. It's decent quality. Stick it out through a headphone output, you'll be fine. But the inbuilt speakers and things, all very thin, lightweight, and it doesn't sound great at all. So, shame that this has gone, but you know, time moves on. Panasonic must have decided, that's it, we've just got to stop making cassette players now. It's holding us back. We could launch a new range of boomboxes if we take the cassette out of it. And that's what they've done, because this was the RXD 55. This is the RXD 552. So it sounds like a successor, doesn't it? Stick a 2 on the end of it. So this one upgrades DAB+, that's the digital radio standard here in the UK and in many other countries around the world. No, not in the US. There's always people in the US say, can I pick up DAB? No, you've got your own stuff, Sirius XM and FM and HD radio, and you know what you've got. Over here, we've got DAB+, and also this has a CD player in it, and it'll play MP3s, and it's got Bluetooth on it. So it's kind of your normal modern day requirements, if you could put it like that. If anyone wants something that does this does that, but it won't have a cassette in it anymore, and that's the end of that. I'll take that remote out of the way. Now, the weird thing about this is that this is the top model here in the UK. There are a couple below this where they strip off things, the Bluetooth or the DAB+, make it FM, that kind of thing. So this is the top model, the RXD 552. If you look on the German Panasonic website, there's another model on there that actually looks better than this one to me. So I went on Amazon.de and bought one of these as well. Now you can see it's going to be a slightly smaller machine, at least going by the box here. And in fact the pricing shows that this, even in Germany, is the more expensive of the two. This one is €170. That's the suggested price. It's actually cheaper than that at the moment. And then this one is €139 on the suggested price. But it definitely looks like the better machine to me. It's got a large screen on the front here with proper clear text on it, whereas this has just got an LCD. And given that we're looking at DAB+ on here, you need the text information to be nice and clear and large. Both DAB+, both with Bluetooth, both with a CD player. I thought, well, what is it that this thing's lacking? Why is it cheaper? The only thing that I think might make this one cheaper is this one mentions it's got a remote control in it, and it's got 20 watts total output. That doesn't mention remote control or power output. So maybe it's just that that's making this one cheaper. I'm not sure, but to me at the moment, that looks like the best bet out of the Panasonic range, even though it's not available in the UK. So I think what we should do, open them both up, play around with them, and see if really the one that you can't get in the UK is the best one to get. Let's find out. Okay, first off, I should mention, it's clear this one's already been opened, not by myself. I bought this as a refurbished model on eBay. I believe it's a catalogue return. And since I'm buying both of these myself, I'm not getting them supplied by Panasonic. I thought I'll try and save myself a little bit of money. And besides which, I'm buying two boomboxes that I don't really need right now, but just for the purpose of making this video. Boombox? We used to call those ghetto blasters. Everyone knows, and no one cares. You always wonder with these catalogue returns if somebody's just knackered it up and then put it back in the box, if you're just going to be buying something that's broken. Okay, well, everything's present and correct so far. We've got the instructions, the power lead, another power lead, one's European, one's UK, and a little remote control with a battery. So I'm glad the remote's in there. I thought that might be missing. And that remote might be a vital feature because on the last one there were some features on the remote that weren't available via buttons on the machine itself. But as you can see on the last one, the remote control was quite a bit bigger. So there was a lot more room for buttons, so it's quite possible all these are indeed included on this device. Let's have a look at it. Right, first impressions, it is not as substantial as the other one, as the previous model, the RXD55. This one doesn't feel hollow, but it also feels a lot lighter. Right, so there's our handle, and as you can see, it's really quite a deep device. Might give the speakers enough room for a bit of bass there. You can see that they're ported on the back. The CD cover is one of those pop-up ones, just a cheap thing like that. The previous one had a drawer loader on the front because the cassette was on the top. Doesn't look bad, kind of nondescript. USB port on the back, power in here, and the batteries on the bottom. You can see it holds 8 batteries and they're C cells. I'll just put a couple in there to demonstrate. I'm not going to fill it up though. I think I'll plug it in the wall instead. Yeah, straight off I can see a couple of buttons on here that aren't on the machine itself. We've got auto off and sleep and mute as well. In fact, I can't see a mute button on here. There might be some others that are labelled up differently, but I think this is going to be important to keep hold of. Now, if the omission of a cassette deck from the Panasonic portable stereo range was a sign of the changing times, well, changing times as of 20 years ago, there's another more recent omission on here, and that is the headphone output. Yeah, there's no 3.5mm sockets on here at all, whether for headphone output or line in. The only input we've got on the back here is this USB. As far as the inputs on the front go, we've got Bluetooth, CD, USB, DAB/FM radio. All these buttons are reasonably decent quality, clicky switches. They're not rubberized. Feels nice enough though. You might notice here it says demo at the top right there, and this has a built-in demo. Play some music, I think. It mentions it in the instructions here. Now notice my instructions are stapled together. Presumably whoever returned this had lost them and they've photocopied some, but yeah, I think the first thing we should do, plug it in and hold that down and see what the demo sounds like. Now I do wonder if this is going to content match. If it does, the next few seconds will be silent, but let's just turn it on first. It says hello on the screen there. You can see quite a basic LCD, but let's just hold down this demo button. You have to hold it down for a few seconds. Wait for demo. Oh! So yeah, I wonder if that is somebody's music that's going to hit a match. We'll find out, no doubt, in due course. Right, let us put a CD in here and try some of the other features. So I've got a Candy Apple Blue CD. The reason I'm using this is they were kind enough to send it over a while ago. It won't content match, which is great, but also they put CD text on their CDs. So if there is any CD text, we'll see it coming up on the screen on the front here. I very much doubt it in a display like this, but then we can test this again in the other machine, and I think that one, it looks like it should have CD text given it's got a nice big screen, but we'll find out. Probably not. Let's press play. Yeah, so this is just basic. You can see the time showing up on there. We'll press display just to see if there's anything else coming through. No, that's your lot. Let's try sound boost. That's bass boost, vocal boost. This has a nice quality of sound to it. No issues there at all. I'll play some to you through a different microphone on the camera so you can get a better sense of what it should sound like, although of course it won't be perfect. Okay, first off we'll have a listen without the bass boost. Okay, let's try the bass boost now. Now, I know in the past I've criticised DAB in the UK, and that's just because some stations really use too low a bit rate. But if you pick a station that doesn't do that, then I really do prefer listening to DAB and DAB+, and there's a lot more choice on it as well. So if you just look through here, if we just go through these names, see that's BBC Mersey, you've got to wait for it to scroll across. Oh, Merseyside, in fact, it goes further than that. So yeah, BBC Radio doesn't even fit. So you've got BBC Raddy, and then we have to wait there. What we listen to? Oh, Radio 1. And what's this one? BBC Raddy again. Radio 1 Extra. You see how a screen like this isn't really suitable for DAB. But as far as DAB goes, seems to be working. It does sound a little bit thin, but I don't know if that's down to the radio more than this device.
That's Nick Straker.
Right, okay, well, that's enough of this for the moment. We'll look at some more features perhaps on it in a moment, but we've played a CD and we've had a listen to the radio. So I think we should get the other one out of the box now. Oh, and I mustn't forget my CD. Right, here we go. This is the brand new one as well. This one hasn't been opened by anyone before, at least it shouldn't have been. And with it coming from Germany, it's certainly not going to have a UK plug on it. Luckily, it's just your standard figure of 8 lead, so you can swap that out easily. Look at the thickness of that instruction booklet on that one there. Wow. Okay, first thing I've noticed, there is no remote control with this one. I don't think that's a major issue, but perhaps to some people it is. Ah, there we go. Oh, surprised there's nothing to peel off on that screen. Disappointed. No doubt it's got exactly the same CD mechanism in this one. Actually, it does look a little bit different, though, but yeah, just a bit nicer. I can't see the ribbon cable, for example. I could in the other. How many batteries does this take? 6. Are those D cells? They look larger. Yeah, it's D cells in this one. There's a C cell next to it for comparison. So yeah, slightly different that way. Yeah, I've got to say I much prefer the look of this one, this squared off look. Even before I've switched it on, it just looks so much more upmarket and swish, even though it's the cheaper of the two. And notice here, USB port on the front rather than round the back. Headphone output, auxiliary input. So it's already winning on that regard. For €20 less, this certainly seems like it might be the better one so far. Now if I turn it on and it sounds dreadful, then that might change my opinion. So I think we should plug it in and find out. Just a bit of a tip here while I'm doing this. It's often worth looking on Amazon.de if you're in the UK and getting stuff sent from there, because quite often it's cheaper than it is here in the UK, and in the case of this, they've got stuff that we don't have. Okay, now that display could do with being more vibrant. Maybe it'll brighten up once I start using it. So let me just turn down the lights in here so we can see it a little bit clearer. Now it looks like that's as bright as it goes. So yeah, a little bit too dim that, and as you can see here we're catching all the reflections in the room, but never mind. Let's put a CD in. Right, now, will it show CD text? I think it's very unlikely, but we're just about to find out. No, it just says it's got 16 tracks and the total length there. But of course that's more information than you can see on the other screen, so let's just press play. And we'll go to that same track again, number 5. I'm going to turn the bass on. I notice we've got some preset EQs on here, so that might have been on heavy already. What have we got here? Vocal, flat, heavy, soft and clear. Oh, yeah, so I think we're already on heavy. So I think that's as bassy as we get it. Let's just have another listen. Yeah, certainly lacking in bass when compared to the other one. Doesn't make it hard to listen to, but it would be nice if it just had a little bit more boom about it. Now, I was just swapping some plugs around and I've cycled the power. You might be able to make out just about that it's showing the time and date on there. If I just press a button, you'll see it brightens up. That looks better on camera than it does in person. That is quite difficult to read at some angles. But anyway, you'll see that, of course, that information is incorrect at the moment as it disappears again. When I turn the DAB radio on, it should pick that up from the radio. Now, of course, this radio is DAB plus as well as DAB. I believe if you sell a DAB radio nowadays, it's got to do both standards. I'm just going to turn the volume down here. I can't see a mute button, but anyway, once that's down near the bottom and it disappears off the screen, you'll see we're getting all the information we need on the screen now. Much better than the other one. You get the name of the track that's being played on this station, as well as the full station name at the top there. Let's just jump to one of those BBC ones that was showing up before. So we pick down at the bottom here, we press play on that one. BBC Radio 1, the whole thing's showing on the screen with room to spare. You can see the various bits of information that it can display, such as the multiplex it's on, the frequency, the fact it's at 40 kilobits a second, but it is DAB+. It doesn't mention whether it's stereo or not, but it sounds like this one is. And we can just have the clock showing there if we wanted it, or the date. So yeah, having a screen like this is far better than the screen on the other one. Just wish it was a little bit easier to see. Now, both the things I'm showing are supposed to be able to play MP3 files back via the USB inputs. By the way, the instructions for this, it's not all that, that's the different languages. In fact, the one for the UK language is separate, and it's just this little thing here. But it mentions that as far as the USB goes, well, it's just MP3s, I think, and you've got to use a USB stick that's 32 gigs or less. It seems very out of date. Now, I have this 64 gig stick here. It mentions they might work, but there might be some issues. I've formatted it as exFAT, and I've got various different audio tests on here. It's supposed to only be able to read FAT and FAT32. We'll see if it can do XFAT. This is a 320 kilobits per second MP3. Right, that's the only one that's showing up on there. So yeah, it can read XFAT. However, it's not reading the other files on here, and there's a FLAC, there's a WAVE, there's a OGG Vorbis, I think there's another one as well. But yeah, so just MP3s, but XFAT seems to be okay. Let's just take that out and we'll try it in the other one as well. Oh, and if we turn this off, it should show the correct time and date on the screen now, with any luck. There we go, 1st of August, 3:01, so it's pulled that through from the radio. All right, let's try this one with the USB stick. Of course, we have to plug it in on the back here, switch it on, move it across to the USB, and see if this can read it. I'm sure it will be able to, because I'd imagine the internals of these are very similar. Ah, no, I was wrong, look at that. Just to show these videos aren't faked. I haven't tested it before. Not supported. So this one really does only want FAT or FAT32. All right, let me try a different USB stick. Oh, look at that, we've got some text coming through on the screen there. Well, we did have for a second. Let me just put the display button on again. So this shows the title of the track that's playing. See, again, we're dealing with these reflections. We don't have a backlight on this one either, so it's quite difficult to show. There we go, we'll do it from that angle. When it comes to the playback of MP3s over USB, it turns out that these two systems are quite a bit more different to one another than I anticipated. This stick, when it's in here, the MP3 files will show the track names. Pop it into the front of this one, despite the fact we've got this screen on here that could show a lot more information, all it will show is the track number. And that's irrespective of what I do with this display button. And this one will take USB sticks that are formatted as XFAT, whereas this one won't. Anyway, let's do a bit of a comparison by playing the same track on both. Now, whatever bass boost options they have, they're going to be switched on both of them, and we're going to listen to this one first and then move across to this. So, let's have a go. Now I'm hoping that came through on the video, because the sound quality really is markedly different between the two. This one, it's quite thin. It doesn't have the bass or the richness of the other one. It's not like the 552 is some kind of bass powerhouse, but this really does feel lacking in that area. The sound quality getting through here is more like you'd expect off a small portable radio, or perhaps a alarm clock radio of old. Looking through the specs here, it has 2 watts per channel at 6 ohm. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't go very loud, but that's not the issue. It's just the fact that the sound isn't very rich. If we compare it to the other one, the 552, according to these specs, well, there's 2 different output levels. You've got 6 watts per channel at 6 ohms, so quite a bit louder than this one, but that is on battery. If we put it on to the AC power supply, then it's 10 watts per channel at 6 ohms. So really the other one does get driven a lot louder, but it just sounds better whatever volume you're putting it at. Right, let's move on and have a play around with the Bluetooth. Okay, so I'll put this in the Bluetooth mode, and that should initiate the pairing if I hold it down, I think. There we go. There it is, RXD70BT. Now let's see if the text from the MP3s is displayed on the screen here. No, that's it, that's all you get on there. Let's just see if we can control it from this end. There we go. Yeah, so it just says connected, that's all, whatever you press here. Weird that they haven't used the screen real estate on this to show a bit more information. Let's try the other one. There we go. Find it on the phone. Right down at the bottom. So, that should connect. It's showing iPhone now. I didn't think it showed that before. Let's just carry on playing. So there we go, a little bit more information on the screen, still not showing the track information. I'm trying to think off the top of my head now whether track information only shows over Bluetooth. It's not something I use an awful lot, but anyway, doesn't show on either of these. Now, in addition to DAB, they can both pick up the FM frequencies. Of course, neither of these have AM or long wave or shortwave reception capabilities for that matter, but as far as the FM side of things go, they both seem equally matched. I'm pulling in the same quality on each on the same stations. They both have access to RDS. They both have the ability to store 30 presets on both FM and DAB. As far as the RDS goes, though, the screen on here is quite small, so it's limited to the information it can show. We've just got the name of the station here, GRT Hits for Greatest Hits. This one, we can show more information. The middle line shows Greatest Hits, but below there's additional scrolling text that can be sent out by the station. As far as those 30 presets go, well, this one has quick access to 5 of them, whereas this one has the full set of digits, so you can just type in direct access to any of those 30 presets that you've got stored in there. Now, if anyone's got any MP3s burnt onto CDs, both machines are capable of playing those discs, but on the RXD 552, you'll be able to see the track titles scrolling across the small display. Whereas on the RXD 70, again, despite the fact it's got the larger display, all it shows you are the track numbers. And both machines have a configurable sleep countdown timer as well as on-off timers that can be set to automatically play any of the sources to your chosen schedule. So you could, if you wished, use these as a large alarm clock. Now, while I've been shooting this video, I've been very careful to get the best angles for these displays so that you can see them clearly. However, in real life, of course, you don't position things quite as perfectly as this, and also you don't have a load of light on them usually. So let me just turn these lights off. So that makes the display now almost impossible to see, and notice there's also no backlight on this either. But now you're looking at the discontinued previous model, the RXD55, and that one does have a backlight on the display, so I wonder why they took that off the new one. Now, given the fact that this updated model has lost the headphone output socket of its predecessor, I thought, well, maybe they've upgraded the technology and given it a Bluetooth output instead, so you can transmit your audio to some Bluetooth headphones. So of course I've tried connecting the two things together, but no, it doesn't do that. It's just got no headphone output whatsoever. Oh, and I'll just show you what's behind the grille. We've got a single speaker on either side. And whilst it's not as easy to see through this grille, there is just a single speaker behind there as well. According to the box, it says it's got an 8cm wide full range speaker, and it also mentions it has a bass reflex port, which really just means that there's a hole at the back of the case. And again, we're looking at the previous model here, the RXD55, and as you can see, we have two speakers either side. The main one there, 8cm, the tweeter, 1.5cm, and yes, it's a real tweeter, no fakery going on inside this one. And I feel that it's also worth mentioning the sound virtualizer. This is a feature that's only on the older D55 model, and when activated, this gives the impression of it having a much wider soundstage. And I much prefer how this sounds when it's switched on, and I just tend to leave it on all the time. Now, given that these are both new models, I don't think the power efficiency is all that great when it comes to running off batteries. I say new, I mean this one came out in 2021. I'm not too sure when this one first debuted, but it will be relatively recently, and we'll start over here. So this is the cheaper one, and this uses 6 D cells, and if those are alkaline, from those you'll get 8 hours of CD playback, or 9 hours if you were using the radio, the Bluetooth or the USB. So yeah, 9 hours out of 6 D cells for listening to the radio. But over here on this side, this uses C cells, so the smaller battery, but it uses more of them. It uses 8 of those. And with 8 of those in here, if they're alkaline, you get 10 hours of CD playback, 11 hours out of the USB, or 13 hours out of the radio if you're listening to either DAB or FM. Now, I'm used to old boomboxes eating through batteries, but I would have thought things would have got more power efficient in recent years. But to have a CD player in this one, just running for 8 hours off 6 of those, when you think you could get one of those CD Walkman, I mean, it must be just eating it all up in the amplification of this, and perhaps that screen on the front's taking a bit of power, but given how dim it is, I wouldn't have thought it would take very much. Right, now this is going to be a bit of a rant, I think. I don't intend it to be, but we might get there, because after all, I'm not particularly happy with what's happened here. I can understand why Panasonic has made some of these decisions, or at least I think they'll have good reasons behind them. I don't know necessarily what they are, but for example, taking the cassette deck out of something and then relaunching it as a new model. I'd imagine that's probably because the cassette mechanism parts were no longer available. I wouldn't think that would be too far out of the question as a reasonable thing to happen, because after all, the last time anyone was making a decent cassette deck was perhaps 20 years ago. So we're really at the end of the line here, and they probably just thought, look, let's just start again. We'll have a CD in it, and we can stick a DAB radio in as well. Bear in mind, this is the top of the range one. There are other models below this with less features. So this is the flagship, and it's pretty lackluster. I actually liked the sound quality of this one in the past. The cassette mech, never the best in the world, but perfectly adequate at playing back your old cassettes, and the amplification, the speakers and all the rest of it made them sound about as good as you could get them on a portable device in the modern day and age. Well, now that this has gone, you're left with lesser quality devices, but you think, okay, fair enough, swap out the cassette deck, put a DAB radio in there. Makes perfect sense. You've got a new thing, new launch of a whole new product range. You've been held back for 10 years or so with this old design that you've been churning out. You really wanted to start afresh, so you throw everything at this and make the best one possible. That's not what's happened here. They've took so many things out compared to this. I mean, first off, this one just sounded better. It's a more substantial machine, it's heavier, it's better quality, it's got a better quality of sound to it. But just looking at my list here, they took out the tweeters, they took out the backlight, they removed the line in, they took out the headphone out, and instead we got a DAB radio instead of a cassette deck. Now, just a quick mention of this one, the D70. I went into this thinking that would be the perhaps better option. It looked like a more modern machine. I still prefer the look of it, but it's very poor on the sound, very thin sound quality. I've got a little DAB radio here from Sony, and honestly, the speaker on this sounds pretty much the same as the ones on here. You would think that something that was at that size would produce a decent quality of sound, but no, that's not what's happened. So perhaps if they merge these things together, if they took the speakers out of here and put them into this one, that would probably be the best option. But also the fact this one has that large display on it that doesn't display things a lot of the time. For example, the text off MP3s or MP3s on CDs. So the programming behind this, it needs kind of the software out of here as well, attached to the screen out of this. But then again, the screen in this is too dull, hard to read at times. on the generous side, I'll say the radio in these, fine. Good reception on DAB. Actually, comparing it to this in the same room with the aerial extended on them, this wasn't picking up some of the stations. It was getting a lot of burbling. So if you wanted a radio, then yeah, it's all right, and it'll play CDs and stuff. I mean, generally, it's a reasonable quality. I quite like the sound of this, not as much as this, but if we just take that one out of the equation, it's all right in its own right. But it's certainly not what it could be. They could have done a heck of a lot more. Honestly, if you're spending like 160 quid or something, then I would have expected something a little bit better than that. But then again, there aren't that many companies around making things like this, which is what's made this all worse, because since Panasonic are still in the game, you'd have hoped that they would have gone out on a high note. They said, right, there's hardly anyone doing these anymore. We're one of the companies that is. Let's throw everything at it, make it the best thing possible. It sounds brilliant over Bluetooth, all the rest of it. Good quality screen on the front, and then everyone will be happy. CD text, all that kind of stuff. But now they just sort of put the basic components out of this into there, took a few things out, put a different case on it, and said, there you go. Yeah, sad really, isn't it? But anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.